Welcome back to the channel, JK here, and this is Joy-Con Gaming. Today we're going to be looking at whether the Nintendo Switch 2 release trailer was boring.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
What is wrong with these people? Are they even capable of feeling happiness? Do they have a soul? Or do they actually have some good points? Well, today we're going to be taking a look and finding out. Let's jump into it. Let's start off then from the very top. We're going to be looking at very general statements about the Switch. The sort of common general negative sentiment is that the release trailer was dull, the console lacks innovation, and it hasn't really added anything new, and that there's no exciting features. I'm sorry, did we watch the same trailer? The Switch 2 has tons of new features. I mean, and that's just what we've seen so far. First of all, we've got a bigger size screen. That was the first thing they showed, which straight away, that's an awesome new feature. If you play in tabletop mode, it makes it a lot easier to play with a friend. And if you're just playing by yourself, you've got a much bigger screen to fit more on. You're not having to squint at small, tiny text, which happens in some games. You're able to capture a lot more detail. So that's pretty cool. The next thing, which you may have missed in the trailer, was at the very top, there's a microphone. So that implies quite a few things. You know, it could be new ways to play games, or old ways, like the DS, blowing on games and things like that. But the more exciting thing is it sort of suggests voice chat, which, that's yet to be confirmed, but it definitely implies that, and that will be a very exciting new feature for the Nintendo Switch. The next is the new Joy-Cons. They're bigger. The buttons are bigger. They've got a cool new grip. They look a lot more premium. So they're going to be a lot more comfortable to hold. That was one of the biggest complaints with them. They've also got an optical sensor inside. So in the very inside of the controllers, there's an optical sensor. And even on the trailer itself, it hinted that they're going to be used like a mouse or mice. So mouse or mice support, for the Nintendo Switch. Another amazing new feature, which I haven't seen on any other hybrid console to date. The next is the USB-C port on the top. It could just be used for charging, but I think, with Nintendo and looking at some patents that they filed, that they're going to use it in some very creative ways. There's also that new mysterious home button below the home button. Who knows what that's for? Again, that could also be linked to some nifty new hardware features, which we'll have to see in April. And they revealed a brand new Mario Kart game. That's amazing. And even the game itself, like the scope of the game, in that 4 seconds or whatever it was that we saw of the game, looks very exciting. So the fact that people are saying they didn't see anything new, did we even watch the same trailer? And the Joy-Cons themselves attach magnetically now. No other console does that. That's just super cool. Now, it may not actually add anything into gameplay and things like that, but it's just a very sort of premium feel and a quality of life feature that, if your Switch is tucked away in a TV cabinet or something like that, you're not having to pull it awkwardly out of the dock and angle it to get out so that you can remove the Joy-Cons. You can now just easily sort of snap them off, put new ones on super easily whilst it's in the dock. No hassle at all. Very cool. The next complaint that I've seen online is that the name is boring. I mean, come on, there's literally no pleasing some people. People have to criticize everything, right? So with the successor to the Wii U, Nintendo went for a rather unconventional naming convention. Wii U. They just added a U on the end, just one letter. And because of that and other ways they marketed the product, it made a lot of people feel like it was just an accessory rather than a next generation console. And so you can't really blame Nintendo for wanting to be absolutely crystal clear with the success to the Switch, because the Wii U was a big flop, commercial failure for them. So you can't really blame them for wanting to be very clear, put out a clear statement. And Sony does this all the time. We're on the PlayStation 5, and the next one's most likely going to be called the PlayStation 6. So no one kicks up a fuss every time Sony does it, but now they're kicking up a big fuss that Nintendo does it. And it's not even the first time Nintendo's... It's the first time they've added a number after the name, but there's they've used different words and letters after names. You know, we've had Game Boy to Game Boy Color, so they just added color on the end, or Game Boy Advance, or Game Boy Advance SP, or Nintendo 3DS, new Nintendo 3DS. It's quite common for them to keep the same series name and just add an addition on the end. So why is it that different to add a number 2? What is the fuss here? And if anything, it's kind of expected, but also surprising that Nintendo would do it. So there's a bit of a surprise element, and also it makes complete sense from a marketing perspective. I don't get what the issue is. The next complaint that I'm seeing is that the Nintendo Switch 2 logo is boring. Yeah, with logos and designs and things like that, I can kind of see a point, because you know, logos, when it comes to aesthetic things or design choices, there is a lot of subjectivity, and some people, what I might find beautiful, another person might find ugly. So yeah, I can kind of see that. My opinion is, I think it looks good. Is it as cool as some of their other logos, like the GameCube logo? Absolutely not. Could they have gone for something a little bit more fancy? Yeah, I guess they could. Is the Switch logo overall a bad logo? No. Like, the actual Joy-Con part of the logo, I think looks pretty cool. Slapping a 2 right next to it, yes, it's quite simplistic, but it does fit the feel of the Switch. It's quite a clean, friendly, bold, and inviting logo. They're not trying to make the 2 quite subtle. It's just there. It's loud and it's proud. Exactly what they want to do from a marketing perspective. Yeah, I think it's fine. Absolutely fine. Another general criticism is that it's very monochrome and dull looking. So yeah, it's not like the grey Nintendo Switch we had at launch with the OG model, or the Nintendo Wii U, which was either in white or black, or the black GameCube, or the Nintendo Wii, which the first one just came out just in white, or, you know, the PlayStation, which comes out in black or white variants, or Xbox One, which is just a black box. It's like, what's the surprise here? You know, Nintendo always bring out monochrome consoles, or at least they have since 2011. And also, with the Nintendo Switch OG model, they brought out one in dark grey, but they also had the colourful variant with, you know, with the red and blue Joy-Cons. They always, well, at least for the last console releases, have brought out different variants at launch, and so it's very likely that they'll probably do the same, you know, in April. We just have to wait and see. And even if they don't, yes, it's black. Black tech is cool, okay? There's a reason why companies go for black. It's a very popular colour, it fits in with everything, it's subtle, it's nice. But Nintendo has added that charm. They've got the red and the blue colours underneath the analog sticks, and on the inside of the Switch body, and on the inside rail of the Joy-Con as well. So they have added that Nintendo charm. And the main thing that you're going to be looking at when you hold a console anyway is the screen. And that screen is big, it's bright, it's colourful. It's not monochrome. There's a lot of colour and life in this thing. Like, when you hold it in your hands, I'm sure it's just going to come to life, and you're not going to be thinking, my god, this is a boring piece of technology. Like, it's going to jump at you. The other thing I'll say is, when it comes to iterating on their console and bringing out different variants, Nintendo is absolute king. Look at all of the different styles of Nintendo 3DS that we had. Look at all of the different styles of Game Boy Advance. Look at all of the different styles of Nintendo Switch. Nintendo love to bring out different versions of their handheld consoles. And they have so many different colours, so many different special editions. And the other thing with the Switch, which is really cool, is, and it's the same with the Switch 2, is you can detach the Joy-Cons. So it's so customizable. There's going to be lots of options from Nintendo, and there'll also be lots of options from third parties. So if anything, I think it will be one of the most sort of customizable and colourful consoles, handheld consoles there is on the market. Next, let's move on to some more hardware-focused criticisms, starting off with the Joy-Cons. So yeah, people are saying, why are they sticking with Joy-Cons? Joy-Cons suck. Okay, yeah, the original Joy-Cons had some issues, and yeah, those issues did suck. I completely agree. Joy-Con drift is what I'm referring to. I've bought 4 sets of Joy-Cons, and I've experienced drift in all 4 pairs of them. which obviously is very disappointing and quite frustrating. And for someone who's as lazy as me, I can't be bothered to send them back to Nintendo, so I'm just using the pair which has the least drift and sort of just dealing with it when I'm in handheld mode. Most of the time I've got my Switch docked and I'm using the Pro controller, which is absolutely flawless. So yeah, that sucks. There's no way Nintendo's gonna have had all that media coverage and backlash of everyone talking about Joy-Con drift with Switch 1 and they're not going to address it with the new console. I mean, if they do, I'll be absolutely gobsmacked, but I think it's very, very, very unlikely to happen. And people are even joking that during the trailer when they were swiveling the analog sticks around, it was kind of Nintendo's way of saying, yep, we know, we fixed the issue, don't worry guys, we got you. So that criticism of the Joy-Con, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think we need to worry. But there's a reason I've bought 4 sets of Joy-Con. It's because actually the Joy-Cons kind of rock. They're very, very cool as controllers. What other controllers out there are as colourful, as light and comfy? No, not comfy. As light. Have HD rumble. Have all of this built-in tech like a Amiibo scanner, a infrared camera scanner. Yeah, those two things are kind of gimmicky, but it's nice that they're built into these tiny little controllers. You can share them easily with a friend. You can put them onto a grip and use them together as a sort of standard controller. You can swap them out. They've got motion controls. They allow you to play all of the Wii-style games. You know, Zelda Skyward Sword, Metroid Prime, the aiming in Pikmin. You've got WarioWare. What other controller on any other system allows you to do that? They're so versatile. They're just very, very cool. And the fact that they're making them bigger, making them more comfortable, making them more premium, and also adding some new features to them, like the optical sensor for mouse controls, and that new button, is it's very, very exciting. I think the new Joy-Cons are going to be some of the best controllers out there, but again, we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully, based on the reasons I've gone through, you can see where I'm coming from. The next complaint is the connector for the Joy-Cons. So when you snap them on and remove them, on the inside, on the left and right hand side of the Switch 2 console itself, there's this little connector, like rectangular connector port, which sticks out. Kind of looks a little bit like the inside cartridge of like a SNES or Game Boy cartridge or something like that. It's basically the data transfer and charging for the Joy-Con when they're attached to the main unit. People are saying and joking about, look, this is such an obvious point of weakness for the console. It's going to snap off. There's going to be loads of people complaining about it. We're going to have lots of broken Switches. Do you guys not realize that Nintendo consoles and handhelds are literally built like tanks? Like the amount of times I've dropped my Game Boy Advance, when I was a kid, or Game Boy Color, those things are pretty indestructible. And there was even a Game Boy that survived a bombing in one of the wars. I can't remember which war it was, but it literally had like a bomb dropped on the building that this Game Boy was in, and half of it melted away. And it's in a museum somewhere, and it still works. I mean, that's just testament to the build quality and durability of Nintendo systems. So, yeah, they'll have tested that. It's going to be absolutely fine. The thick bezels around the screen. Yes, they are a bit chonky, and I agree with this one. It does bug me. I think it's going to take me a while to sort of get over it. When they first showed off the screen on the Switch 2, they hadn't lit the screen up, so I was like, oh yes, we're getting an edge-to-edge glass display. That's going to be absolutely beautiful. And then obviously when they showed Mario Kart running on it, the screen was lit up and you could see those thick bezels on the left and the right. Not so bad on the top and bottom, but on the left and right. And I was a bit like, why have they done that? Now, it may be because they want a way to upgrade people in the future, a bit like they did with the OLED, where they put a different quality screen in there and they stretch it slightly larger. That could be one of the reasons. Another reason might just be for price. Maybe they could purchase that screen at a particular price and it brings the overall price point of the system down. Again, we don't know the price. We're going to find out in April, presumably. It may also be for some technical reasons. Maybe they need the space underneath the bezels for, I don't know, the other internal parts. I'm not a technical guy, and we've not seen any teardowns of the new system yet, but there may be a practical reason for it. But either way, having the OLED, which has that beautiful OLED end-to-end glass display, and then going to this, it does seem like a bit of a downgrade. So yeah, I'm with people on that one. That one does, that one sucks a little bit. But at the same time, when you're playing, a brand new Mario game, or you're playing a brand new Mario Kart or a new Zelda or Smash Bros. On next generation handheld hardware, you're not going to notice it. You're just going to get sucked into the games. Like, I still play on the original OG Switch quite a lot, and like I don't even notice it when I'm playing it now. So yeah, we'll go over that. And also on the screen, people are complaining that it's not an OLED or an OLED display. I mean, how do we even know, first of all? Now, I'm guessing people are a lot more techie than me and they can spot these things, but we've had no confirmation of it. It's just a screen in the trailer, so we don't know for sure. But even if it's not, you can be certain that the screen on this thing is going to be sharp, it's going to be colorful, it's going to look beautiful. That it was already pretty good on the OG Switch. They're going to improve on it further, especially having brought out the OLED towards the end of the Switch's life. They know people are going to make these direct comparisons between the two, so the screen on it's got to be pretty good. It's got a standard to uphold. So yeah, I think it's going to be fine. We'll see in April. They have events in different places in America and in London and the UK and other places around the world, so people will be able to get hands-on with these things, and I'm pretty confident that it's going to look great. And even if it's not as sharp as an OLED, like I say, there's all of these other reasons and strong points that it has going for it. When you're playing these games, are you really going to care that much? And if you do care, go touch grass. Next up, it's so weak in the graphics department. It's so underpowered. Is it really? We've seen 4 or 5 seconds of the new Mario Kart game, and the video which they showed was super compressed, and it was superimposed onto the Switch. I doubt it's the actual gameplay of it, so that's already pretty hard to judge. But also, you're judging on one game in the trailer. They've just put that in there to get people excited and show, the screen running. I don't think Mario Kart 9 or the clip of it is going to be... You shouldn't be judging everything based on that, essentially. If you look at what Nintendo's managed to squeeze out of the original Switch, titles like Metroid Prime HD, Luigi's Mansion 3, Splatoon 3, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, those games are absolutely stunning. And you'd look at those, and they do hold up against next generation or the competition, and it's running on 8-year-old hardware. Imagine what Nintendo's going to be able to do with all of the new internals of the Switch 2. I think it's going to be very, very impressive, and they're saving those games to blow us away in April. This focus was on the hardware and the console itself. They had to put some sort of game in there to show it running. They chose Mario Kart 9, like I say, super compressed, very short. Maybe the course that they showed as well, maybe wasn't didn't have the most going on. So yeah, just wait and see. We are going to be surprised. I really strongly feel that. Okay, the next is probably the most wild and ludicrous thing I've seen said about the Switch 2, and it's that it's not going to have any games. It's got no games. Right. First of all, the trailer we just saw was a teaser trailer for the actual final unveiling of the console in April. It was intended to announce that Switch 2 is a thing more broadly, give us a first look at what the system actually looks like, and show off some of the hardware features such as the detachable Joy-Con controllers, the new USB-C port on the top and things like that. It wasn't about games. But Nintendo treated us to a little tidbit, a little teaser of Mario Kart 9, which is, Mario Kart is the #1 selling title on the Switch, one of the best-selling games of all time. And they showed off a little bit, and there's a lot packed into that as well, of a new title, that's enough right now to get excited about. In April, it's not just going to be Mario Kart. There's bound to be tons of other titles that they're going to show off and get us excited. I mean, with the original Nintendo Switch, we had a teaser for Mario Odyssey, which was huge. That was the first big 3D Mario game since Super Mario Galaxy 2 on a console. So that was a huge announcement. We had Breath of the Wild. We had Splatoon 2. We had ARMS, a brand new IP. We had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe running on there as well. We had some strong third-party games which were shown off. We had Skyrim. There was that shot of the guy who's on the plane. He's got his Switch in tabletop mode, holding the Joy-Cons, using the motion controls. All of that stuff. It was absolutely jam-packed with games to get excited about. And the games were obviously a major feature of the original Switch's game trailer. So, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You buy a games console to play games. There's no way that when they show off the Switch 2 more in April, that it's not going to have games. This is Nintendo we're talking about. Nintendo is probably the best major company out there for having a absolute packed release schedule. They have such a great cadence of games, especially in the Switch era, of just bringing out banger after banger. And not just remakes. I mean, the remakes are really cool. We've had, the Paper Mario remakes, Metroid Prime remake. We've had ports of other games. We've had, really innovative remakes like A Link to the Past, so bringing an old Game Boy Zelda game into the modern day. That was really cool. We had new IPs. We had, ARMS, Ring Fit, Mario Rabbids, if you count that, and some smaller titles like, Part-Time UFO and The Stretchers. And then we had big new entries in series like, as I already mentioned, Mario Odyssey, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the new Pokemon games, Animal Crossing, which just has absolutely skyrocketed to popularity on the Switch. New Splatoon, new Pikmin. I could just go on. It's absolutely jam-packed with games, and so you can be sure that the Switch 2 is going to have a similar wide catalogue of games. And I think that's why we've seen, in the last couple of years of the Switch, they've started to lean a little bit more on ports or smaller scale games. And I think they're using that internal development resource to, build all of these new games that we're going to see on the new console. So it absolutely will have games. The other thing is, they announced in the trailer that all of the games and the library from Switch 1, both physical and digital, will be available on the Switch 2. And as I said, Switch 1 has such a massive library of games, you can have instant access to all of those. Not only that, but because the Switch 1 is very, very much on track to become the best-selling console of all time, all of the apprehension from third-party developers that Nintendo had in the Wii U era has pretty much evaporated. And although there are still plenty of other developers who've not yet brought their games onto the Switch, I think now we're entering this new generation and the Switch 2 is going to be a lot more powerful in terms of its internals. It'll be a lot more easier to port and bring those games over. So I think we're about to see a big wave of, even bigger wave of third-party support for the Switch 2. So, it's going to have tons of games. The other thing is, Nintendo is now charging for their online service, and they've, brought their virtual consoles into the online service form. So we've got all of the NES games, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, N64. That's a big focus for Nintendo, and they're going to want to keep that focus in the Switch 2 era moving forwards, and they're probably also going to want to leverage that as a way to encourage people also to buy Nintendo Switch 2, and for the people who have Nintendo Switch 2 to then pay for the online service with some sort of exclusivity. So it wouldn't surprise me if they start to bring things like GameCube, or they've already partnered with Sega. It would be amazing actually if they brought Dreamcast, but I mean that's a bit of a pipe dream, but no pun intended. But that would be pretty cool. They're going to come up with some sort of cool online features as well. So there's probably going to be even more retro games coming on board. Yeah, so yeah, that argument that it's going to have no games is just ridiculous. Nintendo's run out of magic. It's run out of innovation, it's run out of creativity, it's run out of its charm. Need I remind you that a few months ago, Nintendo brought out an alarm clock with motion controls and all of these wacky sounds to wake you up. That alone should just show you that Nintendo's crazy side is still there, and I'm sure there's a lot of that craziness that's going to be contained within the Switch 2, and we're going to find out in April. I'm not saying it's an alarm clock, but you know, that sort of creative spirit should shine through the software, the games, the firmware. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to it. So in conclusion, the Nintendo Switch 2 certainly is not boring. We've already found out so much to get excited about, and in April we're going to find out a ton more. We're going to find out, you know, what colors we're going to be getting, what, you know, different variants, what new features we're going to be getting out of the hardware, what that USB-C port and the new button can do, what the dock can do. We've not even really seen the dock. We've not seen it, you know, from behind. We don't know whether it's going to boost the power like it did the Switch 1, whether it's going to boost it significantly and or do other nifty little things. We're going to see potential accessories and peripherals, new Pro controller, perhaps. We're going to see what the UI looks like, and the software, you know, the services and apps that are going to be on this thing. You know, upgrades to Nintendo Switch Online, new connectivity features, maybe a chat feature, or like a social hub, or trophies, things like that. Third-party apps, Netflix, Spotify, will it have those? If they're there, that's also something to be, you know, really excited about. And yeah, the major one obviously is what games we're getting. Like that is the main thing to get excited about, because, like I say, Nintendo's been saving that development resource internally, and they're going to have some absolute bangers to show us off for sure. So yeah, to conclude, the trailer wasn't boring. The Nintendo Switch 2 isn't boring. There's a hell of a lot to be excited about. Everyone's wrong. Now it's time for our community section, where we celebrate the growing community of Joy-Con gaming online across our social networks. So our player of the week we're going to give to Mr. Robot Joe. Mr. Robot Joe is another Nintendo YouTuber. He's a lot bigger than our channel. He's a really nice guy. We've been talking to him. You should check out his videos. They're basically like ASMR. He's got the most calming voice ever and does really good features. And he's also been giving me some tips with our channel. So yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Great channel. Love your videos. Everyone go check him out. And our fan art feature of the week goes to, now, probably the most awkward name to pronounce ever. I think it's Maribuekaki, because they're a Japanese person. On Instagram, Maribuekaki does absolutely amazing pictures of, you know, like Paper Mario, Mario Kart, different Mario characters. Has this bright, popping, rich, colourful style. Often does sort of like a 3D, 2D hybrid. We'll have the characters popping out of things like a Nintendo DS or Game Boy Advance. He's done some like cool cardboard effects on some of the characters as well. Yeah, I say he. I actually don't know. It could be a girl. Who knows? Let's have a look. See if we can find out. It doesn't say. They're an amazing artist. So yeah, go check them out on Instagram. Thank you both for being part of our network, and yeah, keep doing your thing. So that's a wrap. Hopefully you can see I'm very, very excited about Switch 2. I can't wait to get my hands on one. I can't wait to see what else they've got to show for the system in April. But yeah, there's still also lots to love about the Nintendo Switch 1, you know, the OG model. On my very first video on the channel, we talk about all of the amazing games that are confirmed for Switch 1 in 2025, and other games which are confirmed as coming out for the original Switch but don't yet have a release date. So if you've not watched that already, go check it out. I'll link it at the end of this video. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe. I've got a goal of hitting 100 subscribers by the end of the month. We're almost there. Yeah, so if you enjoy this sort of content and you want more coverage on the Switch 2, please subscribe to us. I've been JK. This is Joy-Con Gaming. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, keep sharing the joy.